talking about?
Huh?
What's the panel about?
Tax Collectors and Treasurers Association, so it's all on, tax collecting law and on, warrant disbursements and policies, that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
We
good?
A panel of three, the MMA legal, me, and one other person.
That should be interesting.
I know, they called me last week, and I said, well, I'll let you know on Monday. It's like a 3-hour panel.
Oh, really? Wow. You gotta have some stories to talk about, right?
We good? We good?
Oh, we're ready to go.
Everybody that's gonna be here is here tonight, so
roll out.
let's open this town council meeting for August 15th. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, Twyla,
Roll call. Counselor Albert?
Here.
Counselor Colby?
Here.
Counselor Crawford?
is excused. He's at training tonight.
And Counselor Lunt?
Here?
Counselor Ward?
Here
Counselor Crafts?
is excused.
And Counselor Brunel?
Councilor Bonnell is also excused for tonight.
Okay.
Next item.
Good news and recognition.
Anybody got anything? Anybody in the public got anything for good news and recognition? Moving right along.
Next item is a public hearing. A, 10 Union Street, under the Dangerous Building Subchapter, which is Subchapter 4 of Chapter 91 of Title 17 of the Maine Revised Statutes.
Before I open the public hearing, I'm following Dan's script again. We-
Patsy doesn't have to read the entire order if you all have copies in front of you.
Perfect.
Really want to.
No.
I don't have to read it. I'm good with that.
We are meeting this evening to continue a hearing to determine whether the structure at 10 Union Street is a nuisance or a dangerous building, with the meaning of the applicable statute found at 17 Maine RS 2851 and succeeding statutes. If we determine that the structure is a nuisance or dangerous building, we will then determine that the actions that the property owner must take. Under the same statute, or any part thereof, is a nuisance or a dangerous building if it is structurally unsafe, unstable, unsanitary, constitutes a fire hazard, is unsuitable or improper for the use of occupancy to which it is put, constitutes a hazard to health and safety because of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, obsolescence, abandonment, or is otherwise dangerous to life or property. This is the standard we will use to decide whether the structure is a nuisance or a dangerous building. Before I start, I would have a question to all councils members. 10 Union Street is owned by Linda Schlar. Do any of the council members know the property owner, have knowledge about this matter? That means you could not fairly and impartially represent the facts, decide based on the evidence presented at this hearing.
No.
Seeing none. Next, I ask that any representative or representatives for 10 Union Street or a party in interest who is present tonight, including introduce yourself, including identifying your name, address, and position. Anyone? Now, the procedures that the town will follow in conducting this hearing are as follows. On July 18th, 2017, the Town of Lisbon Code Enforcement Officer presented information regarding the ownership of 10 Union Street in notice of tonight's hearing. 2, information or evidence will be presented by exhibits and witness testimony. Any document to be used in this proceeding will be marked as an exhibit. I accept into evidence the Code Department's previously exhibited Exhibits A through J for 10 Union Street. The presentation of evidence for the property will occur in the following order. Town Department will present an opening statement and a relevant evidence regarding why the structure at issue is a nuisance or a dangerous building, and if it is, what the remedy the council shall have. F, following town councils can ask questions of a party and of the witnesses. Each side of the town can make closing remarks, 2 or more minutes each. Only parties to these hearings will be allowed to participate. Comments from the public will not be taken at this time. After all the information has been presented, the record will be closed and the council will deliberate and take a vote on whether the structure in question is a nuisance or a dangerous building. If the council determines that the structure is a nuisance or a dangerous building, It shall deliberate and take a vote on the appropriate order to make a remedy the situation. This is an administrative hearing and not a court proceeding or trial. Therefore, the formal rules of evidence will not apply. As chairman of the town council, I will determine the appropriateness and admissibility of evidence on the advice of the town attorney. I now ask that Dennis Douglas, the town code enforcement officer, present to the town council the information relevant to this matter. Tag.
Council? 10 Union Street, we already had this once. There was one other interested party that hadn't been served, so we have to do this a second time around, so I'll try to go through it quick. So at the July 18th hearing, I presented evidence that Linda Solar is the owner of 10 Union Street, and the Citibank entity and Wilmington Trust entity are parties in interest, and showed evidence that all had notice of the hearing. First Franklin Financial Corporation is a party in interest. At the time of the July 18th hearing, service upon First Franklin Financial Corporation had not been effected, and the council tabled and continued the hearing. First Franklin Financial Corporation has now been served with a notice of hearing as of August 4th, 2017, and that return of service is in your packet as Exhibit F. So under dangerous building, essentially I've worked for the town of Lisbon as code enforcement officer since 2012. My certifications are included in your packet as Exhibit G and are in brief. Essentially code enforcement certification, main plumbing license certification, and Department of Health and Human Services local health officer certification. Notice of violation sent to the owner is included in your packet as Exhibit H. On March 20th, 2017, Code Enforcement Officer Dennis Douglas issued a notice of violation to Veripro Solutions and Nation Star Mortgage to repair the structure and bring up to Town of Lisbon Code of Ordinances within 60 days of the date of the notice. There are numerous additional violations similar in nature noted in the building file for the property dating all the way back to 1982. A party in interest appears to have conducted property inspections generally on a monthly basis between August of 2013 and January of 2017 and memorialized them on safeguard property inspection sheets. No further inspections appear to have been conducted since January 20th of this year, and the condition at that time was poor and deteriorating, as noted on the inspection report. Pictures of the safeguard properties inspection sheets are included in your packet as Exhibit I. Present conditions at 10 Union Street are portrayed in the slideshow, which is included in your packet as Exhibit J. So in conclusion, 10 Union Street qualifies as a dangerous building for the following reasons. It constitutes a hazard to health or safety because of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, and abandonment. Substantial deterioration of the roof and rafter structure make it structurally unsafe. Deterioration of the roof make it unsuitable or improper for the use or occupancy which it is put. The property constitutes a fire hazard and a safety hazard because of exposed plumbing and gas lines and electrical fixtures throughout the building. There are unsanitary conditions created by rodents gaining access to the interior of the house. It constitutes a hazard to health or safety due to the water in the interior of the structure because of inadequate maintenance and abandonment. It constitutes a hazard to health or safety because the exterior stairs to the access second floor unit are unsafe. Broken treads, risers, railings do not comply with building code regulations. And it constitutes a fire hazard, a hazard to health or safety, and is dangerous to life or property because the failure to secure the abandoned building has resulted in improper access of vagrants, vandals, and minors to the property. And there is evidence of fires having been set on the interior without a fireplace or any ventilation. So as such, we ask that you adopt our proposed findings of fact and conclusion of law in order that the structure be demolished.
That said, we're open public hearing. Is that how that works? Next. Anybody liking to speak on this subject? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing, move on. Next item.
Audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody wishing to address the council, please come forward and announce yourself. Seeing none, moving on.
Under consent agenda, any counselor wishing to remove an item may do so now. Items removed would be considered next. Seeing none. Order 2017-196 to approve the municipal accounts payable warrants, payroll warrants, number 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and the school account payable and payroll warrants, 1007, 1008, 1009, number 4, and 1803, along with the minutes of August 1, 2017, and the Maine Downtown Center Network Community Agreement.
I need a motion.
Make the motion.
Second that.
All in favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Next item, Twyla?
Under Council Orders, Ordinances, and Resolution, Order 2017-197, secure dangerous structure at 10 Union Street.
The recommendation is to demolish, correct? And is that the official one that's actually coming before the town that you want?
Adopt the findings of fact.
Yes.
Would the motion be to adopt this order presented here in this packet?
I need a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion to adopt the order.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-198 to set the public hearing date for hearing on 4 Zamor Street under dangerous building subchapter, which is subchapter 4 of chapter 91 of title 17 of the Maine Revised Statutes on September 19th. September 19th, 2019.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-199, introduction of the proposed bond for wastewater collection and treatment system upgrades.
So merely what you're doing tonight is to just approve the timeline for permanent financing. This is the work that we need to do on the sewer system, treatment plant, and pumping stations. The package that we put together for rural development was a $9 million package. We've applied for funding in the form of loan and grant. And as the package looks right now, it has not been approved through USDA rural development. We're hoping to hear anytime. Would be $6,543,000 as loan and $2,457,000 would be grant funding for this project. So that's what we're gonna be proposing as we move forward, but tonight all you have to do is approve the timeline for permanent financing, and all the documents are attached that you'll be voting on in the very near future, if you wanna proceed to have this on the November referendum.
So it's not the high end of the 30%, but it's close.
It's close, yeah.
And the other side of that too is that bonded amount is it's a significantly low interest rate.
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
2.625, I've got it here somewhere. It's actually lower than when we first applied for the grant. The
That's what I thought.
interest rate has come down.
That's what I thought. I
Yeah.
thought I saw something about that. And ultimately too, this will address a lion's share of our needs.
Well, and the main part of this is Main Street is included in this packet so that we can get that work done at the same time that MDOT's doing their work.
What,
That's what we want to coordinate it at that same time.
thank you.
I mean, it's a 100-year-old system, and it does need improvements, or it's just gonna keep breaking and getting worse on us.
We can be reactive for as long as we want, but it's not gonna solve our problems. You can't put a Band-Aid over crumbling pipes.
I mean, we're gonna have to deal with it when they break, and we're gonna have to fix it, and if we can
The
put a
cost.
funding package together where we can get a significant amount of grant, that's all the better for us.
The cost is gonna be astronomical if we continue to play whack-a-mole with the current pipe structure that we have.
Right.
We're just gonna continue to throw money at a problem that is, we'll patch one area and it'll pop up somewhere else if we don't take this thing head-on. The study that we spent money on tells us that we've done a good job with maintaining some of our waste treatment facilities, but the infrastructure piece is something that's sorely lacking because it's out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
So, and we're talking about today, this is just votes to put it on the referendum,
Right.
up for referendum for a public vote.
So today is just the timeline.
Informational and
It's
introducing the
informational
timeline.
timeline.
Right.
We'll be coming back to you to set a public hearing and then put it on the ballot.
And the loan payments are coming solely out of the sewer.
Yes, it will come right from sewer user fees only. It'll be a 30-year loan.
So it's not just so that way the audience is clear, it's
Right.
not coming
It's
out
not
of
coming through
taxes.
taxation.
Taxes don't go up to fund this. Sewer rates have been raised to deal with the existing work, and if comparatively, based on the study that we had received, that we have had one of the lowest sewer rates in surrounding communities, and we were told in order to be able to qualify for this grant, which is $2.5 million that we don't have to spend of tax dollars or sewer rate increases, I should say. The fact that we've been that far gone, we could have been maintaining our infrastructure had we raised our rates a little bit at a time to do so. But this is what we're dealing with right now, so this is what we gotta address.
My question, I guess, is, we set what we thought we would have to do for the first half. Have you had a chance to look at, with this financing package, how much the second piece of that might have to be? The rate increase for it was my understanding it was gonna be a 2-year
Yeah,
phase-in to be able to make that happen.
there'll be another rate increase similar to what we have this year.
So
it
it's
was 12.
comparable.
It was 12 this year.
12, yeah, I think we're gonna see increases over the next 3 years to get us up to where we need to be.
But by this second time round, we will know because we'll be committed to,
Right.
if this passes, what we need to do to be able to pay back the debt.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions?
The informational.
Informational for timeline for something that's gonna be out there voted on in the November election by the voters.
I mean, this is the not fun part of what we have to do, because it's out of sight, out of mind. Most people don't think about stuff like this until there's a hole in the middle of one of your main streets, because there's been a main break or worse, so.
Or until the sewer's back up in people's basements.
Well,
That
then
too,
can be
that too, Mark.
expensive.
That's definitely an
I've
unpleasant.
seen that happen before. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And the pressure on one key resource down on, help me now, the pump
The
station,
Davis Street
Davis Street.
pumps
Thank you.
everything through the entire both sides of the town.
A lot of the emphasis for this project was,
Right, I mean, if that goes out,
Yeah.
everything goes directly into the river.
right.
Right. And
Then
then,
we'll be forced to do the infrastructure
Yeah.
upgrades.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, we could either be told to do it, or we
Let's
could
do
be
it.
proactive and do it.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to go ahead and set the timeline.
I'll second.
In favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Next item, 12.
Order 2017-200, the facade grant bid award.
I guess.
And Tracy Stuber, Economic and Community Development Director. Recently, we went out to bid as far as for 206 Lisbon Street. And bids came in, they were due August 8. Basically had sent out about 4 bids, as you can see. There was only one that was received. After speaking with the owners within their budget line, that the request is basically to reject the one bid from Doton's Construction, as it does not fall within the owner's budget, and then go back out, work with the owners on a new scope of work and put it back out to bid. And this is within the guidelines of the state for the CDBG.
Now, what was the original budget that we talked about for this? You know,
Well, we hadn't really had a budget, because normally what it does is, well, this one would have been $20,000 as far as, that they would have been asking for, because that was the maximum that they could ask for. But the bid came in at $128,000 for the
Wow.
work, and you just had one bid, so you really couldn't compare it with anyone else.
Is the intent to actually still try to get that in a window this fall?
Yes,
or-
the owner is they still want to get the work done this fall. Right now, it's, they're getting now to the end of their pool season.
Right.
But the goal is to get the work done this fall.
Okay.
Have they identified a dollar amount, scope of work that they're willing to live inside of?
They had an amount that they had from their previous bid, that they
Construction
had,
estimate. Their
exactly, as far as
construction
their,
estimate. They had an idea.
but this one just came over quite a bit more. So I think if it's more reasonable,
Or
that would
something to at
probably
least
be a
compare it to
difference.
with just the one coming in?
Exactly, and they had nothing to compare it to. I mean, the only that they could do was just on the estimate that they had, and that was all they had to compare by.
Okay.
So you had a bid, you know, that was definitely, there was we're talking a good substantial amount of money difference.
You got the recommendation. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed 4-0.
Thank you, Tracy. Next two items, Twyla.
Yes, order 2017-201, the website design bid award,
Uh,
and the 202 branding bid award.
I would like to entertain a motion to postpone these where we have a full council.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item, 2002-03.
Yes. The fiscal year 17 carry forward amounts.
They're on page, these aren't numbered, are they?
24.
So these are the 2016-17 balances. They're either credit or debit balances to be carried forward. The first set on that page are your normal general ledger carry forwards. And the 2016-17 expense accounts that we'd like to carry forward is the grants match. We didn't spend any of the $5,000, but we'd like to carry it forward for any future grants. We have a balance in legal of $15,094.27. I'd like to carry that forward. The fire department capital project, that amount left over $46,592.13 needs to be carried over and put into their reserve account. That's the way that was set up. Any money left in that expense account goes to the reserve account.
Is that for the equipment?
Yes.
That's that one? Okay.
Yep. And the MDOT match for our projects that we haven't received any bills on yet, that we raised $217,500. We'd like to carry that forward. And the sewer equipment line, we'd like to carry forward $11,631, and the wastewater treatment plant, $18,615.73. And then the next page are the accounts that we'd like to lapse into undesignated fund balance. And they're all credits except for the write-off of taxes. So that's all gonna increase our fund balance with the exception of that one account. That MEPRS reserve, that is that credit that we received from MEPRS a couple of years ago, and we just have kept it on the books. So I think now it's time to just lapse that into fund balance.
Thank you for answering my question.
Anybody have any content on any of the items that you see before us? I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to carry these balances forward as requested,
Or let lapse.
or let lapse. Carry on. Same thing.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
4-0. Carried.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-204, the sewer project design work.
Hello, Ryan Layton, Public Works Director. Here to request permission to work with Oliver Associates to develop a design and bid package for the Nason Street sewer, Pinewoods Road sewer, and to look a little bit more in depth at the Route 196 sewer, which is a section that's going to be in a DOT project to be from Capitol Ave to Main Street. The work's going to be done, I believe, next year, but I'm not 100% positive on that based on the way schedules go with DOT. Pinewoods Road is a failure that we had this past month or so. We've cambered all these sections. We've identified sections of Pinewoods Road that we need to replace, and then we're gonna couple that with some sections that we wanna reline to try to keep the price down. We had some initial estimates of basically replacing the whole section, and it was well over $300,000. We think that we can take the worst sections, replace that, and then the rest of it, based on the internal investigation, looks like that we can line those projects at a fraction of the cost. The Nason Street sewer is another one where it was in the original USDA plan. Talked to Mandy Oliver a little bit about that today, and we can take that one out, line it now, so that way we can proceed with our paving project, because there's 3 streets in gross development that were all kind of linked together. I'd like to get them done during this fiscal year. In order to do that, we really need to, I just want to get that part of it out of the way. So the gist of this is I'm just asking for permission to work with Oliver, put together the bid proposals, put it out to bid, and then I'll come back with prices for you to award, hopefully the beginning of September, so we can get this work done right away. There's still no guarantees that I'll be able to do the Nason Street sections before winter, but that's the goal at this point.
Right. He answered my question. He's trying to push to actually get it done in this fall construction
I'm
season.
A-okay with that as well, I think. The only thing I would ask is when it comes time to public hearing, all the CAM work that you've done, or especially the ones that were in sad shape, let's make sure that shows up in this public hearing so people can actually see it.
The only thing that I would say is that everything, my experience, trying to force it into the window, the price goes up before the fall. At this late hour, it's based on what availability the construction crews have.
Right.
That's just the known issue.
The thing is, it's primarily the Pine Woods Road one is the one that we need to address right away.
Right.
And I think that's gonna be such a small project that may be good fill-in work too, so.
Okay.
Hoping there's enough local contractors that may be able to fit that in before snow flies, so we'll see.
Any reservations?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Thank you, sir. Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-205, solicit bids for new sewer and 1 new sewer and 1 public works 4x4 trucks.
So we just finished the budget, and here I am trying to ask to do something we didn't put in the budget.
Which
We had
is
planned to do replacement through the used market for pickup trucks for both the sewer and the public works departments. They just had the auction up at the state, and the options there were worse than what we're already working with. We've had several local dealerships that have been looking for us as well, and with little to no success, based on what we originally had for our budget. It's disappointing because I basically tripled what we spent the last time we ended up buying used pickup trucks with the idea, with the thinking that we'd have some good options. But at this stage of the game, to be able to find a regular cab, long bed work truck, it's just not a big market for them. I did reach out to local GM dealership in Augusta, big one, to get an idea of what the municipal pricing would be if we were to put it out to bid, and he gave me a budget number of around $29,000. He stressed that wasn't a bid amount, so I suspect that the price would be less than that, and that was only one dealer. So at this point, I'm requesting permission to put out a bid for 2 trucks, new, and see what we get back for pricing, and then work within what we have for budget, and then potentially tap the undesignated.
I'll give you what I'm thinking, and then I'll deliver a message from Mr. Burnell. Mr. Burnell not being able to be here tonight, his one piece was focusing on something that actually was not presented in the budget where we asked for used pickups. I agree with that. My message would be the fact is you present a budget, we have to live within that budget. If we're gonna go from the 15,000 that was actually budgeted, I am not prepared to fund balance for any of it. The fact is, if we can come up with a 14 in that and tell us what you're gonna defray to be able to work within that existing budget, you may have my attention. Because I know we talked about it in at least 2 different meetings, and I asked the question, you sure with used trucks? When you tell me yes, I'm expecting you to live within that budget. And that is the same position that Mr. Burnell was, because his answer is shorter. His answer was no. So you're lucky he's not sitting here tonight. So, anybody else?
Yeah, I'm of the same mind, but I understand too that you were operating in good faith, that you would, like you said, you
Right.
tripled your used budget from the last time, hoping that it would expand, and I think you were pretty transparent with saying, I think I'm gonna have a
Right.
lot of options, I'd like to believe, by doing this. And so I think we were all of like mind that, hey, go get what you need, especially if you think you can do it. But I think it's, to echo what Alan's already said, it's just kinda, it's tough for us to say to every other department, you gotta live here, and then we come back and we give it to you that way. It's not that we don't want to. I get that there's a need. But
And I would say there's even probably a little more latitude with the sewer reserves, because the sewer reserves are strictly supposed to be sewer reserves. So that might even be closer to the straight face test for me, but, you know, clearly tapping 15 grand for the general fund side of things, I'm not comfortable with that, because I know we had months of discussion to come up with a final number for almost $300,000 or whatever it was in the fund balance combined, trying to weigh all issues, and I don't want to set the precedent already looking to something coming into next year, because the minimum wage issue is only going to get worse. $125,000 that local Lisbon Emergency's looking for next year, and the list is already increasing before the budget season. It's going to have its own challenges, so I'm going to have to say no on that.
Well, I guess based on our purchasing policy and our approach, do I have permission to go out to bid and get the real bid for a new vehicle and find out what that competitive bid is, and then come back and either
For a proposal that doesn't relate to fund balance to come up with 15 grand,
that or?
I would be
and if we're
entertaining
not
that.
able to- And if I'm not able to meet that, then we just reject all the bids.
I'm receptive to at least hearing the idea out, because I think that that's a more realistic approach to be able to get the vehicle.
And like you said, I think when you said earlier in your statement here, the 29 was the leaping off point, you might find that they come back and somebody might want to treat us, or give us something that, an offer too good to refuse. I see what you're saying there. That's fine. I don't see any problem with that. Let's at least entertain it. I'm not saying that we'll
Yeah.
do it, but at least entertain it.
Yes,
It's fair.
but it's less tied to the actual funding is what we're seeing here tonight, to at least begin the discussion on purchasing the assets that need to be done.
And you may find that we'll get creative to find, you know, a way to make that up somewhere down the line in other ways. So,
Right.
whatever, yeah.
I'm curious if you've looked beyond Maine at all to look for used vehicles. I know I've gone to New Hampshire to buy cars because you get more selection, you know, you go further south, there's
Yep.
more vehicles around.
Diane advised, and we've been looking online at a website that reaches well outside New Hampshire, Florida, and the whole 9 yards, so. I mean, there are options for traveling and shipping, but again, most everything was still above that price point. When you're looking at something that's, you know, less than 100,000 miles, which is, you know, which is
Right.
what we had bought at the auction
Right.
before.
That's the reality of anything that's actually four-wheel drive and still functioning on the road is
Well,
the
there's plenty of
truck's
options
prices.
for a crew cab short bed.
Right.
But that doesn't really, I mean, and that would serve the purpose as well, but it's not what we, it's not really
Expect.
what we need.
Right.
Yep.
So, rather than spend the money on something we don't need, we'll wait.
I would entertain a motion to allow him to at least go out and solicit bids, not to address the financing through this course and this motion.
Yeah, I second that. I'm on board with that, because I think, yes,
Yeah.
I don't need to go over it again.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions of Ryan to be able to? All in favor?
4-0, order passed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla?
Order 2017-206, Ridland Road, turnaround.
We're here to ask permission to work with the owners and butters of Vacation Land Lane, which is a private road off from Ridland Road. Ridland Road is a dirt road, dead-end dirt road off from Ferry Road. I don't know if everybody knows where it is or not. There's been a request for a while now about having a turnaround up there in order to allow for the potential for buses to be able to go up Ridland Road. And while investigating that request and talking to the plow truck driver, realized that we basically turn around in somebody's yard right now at the end of Ridland Road, and that's caused problems in the past, including him being stuck. So at this point, what we'd like to do is work with basically Ridland Road comes up, Vacation Land Lane comes in this way, but it's a very narrow connection. We'd like to be able to just widen that, basically the throat of their access to Ridland Road enough so that way the plow truck can come up, back around, and leave. And then if any other department wants to utilize that, that'll be up to them to work out those logistics. But at this point, the goal for us was to be able to provide a better access for the plow truck at this point. And it looks like it'd be a fairly simple culvert extension and then some fill, basically just to cut some trees. It should be a very simple thing, but it's on private property, so we'll have to work with them to obtain an easement.
Would the you said other departments, would these same issues be presented with the fire apparatus or something of that? If you're gonna pursue an easement, shouldn't we be doing it for both? Or is it strictly stone removal we're concerned with right now,
I think we're just asking for permission to be able to construct on the.
on the property? Any reservations?
Any initial outreach done at all? to the-
Talked to pretty much most of the abutters, and they're very receptive to it one lady said as long as we don't cut the apple tree, which is actually on the other side, so shouldn't be a problem, but they're definitely receptive to the option. One of them wants to improve Vacation Land Lane anyway to be able to provide better access for themselves, and so they're kind of just waiting to see how much we were gonna do.
How much our investment would be?
It's good enough for me.
I need a motion.
Make the motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Thank you.
Brian, while you're up here, I have a question for you. What's the status on Gould Road? I know we covered back over those culverts. Is that going to be this summer, or is that going to be?
It's still
next
gonna be
spring?
this summer. We got,
Excellent.
I think in the long run, when the project's gonna take that long, we're gonna be better off just paving them in. Our goal is not to.
I
more
was just
than
curious
save.
if it was going to be done this
No.
summer, or is it going to be next summer?
Next couple weeks, Bodenham Road should be done, and then they'll move on to Gould and then the summer. So everything should still be done before this winter. It's just taking a
Excellent.
while.
Thank you.
Next item, Twala.
Order 2017-207, Police Cruiser Bid Award.
Good evening, Mark Hagan, Chief of Police. So the police department went out to bid for two 2018 Ford all-wheel drive SUVs. We reached out to 5 different agencies, 4 of them returned bids, and Rowe Ford out of Auburn was the low bid at $28,399 per cruiser. So we would like permission to go forward and purchase those cruisers through Rowe Ford Auburn.
Did your bid specs include trades?
No.
Or how are those being handled? Separate sale? I know we talked about it in the budget. Where did we land on that discussion, sir?
Where we landed was one vehicle, I believe, is gonna go to codes.
Right.
And the other one, we were just gonna do private sale and try to get rid of it that way, not use it as a trade.
Okay. So it would go before us at a later for just sale when the other one comes in?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a few months. The
Yeah.
cars won't be ready
Right,
until
right,
at least
right.
December.
Devil's advocate here, I see that you noted Quirk offered similar package 2017 at a lower amount. Granted, it's you know, a few dollars lower, not much.
Right.
But why did we not consider that low? I'm just curious, and I'm sure people will ask.
Well, basically for roughly $100,
Yep.
we're getting a year newer
No,
vehicle.
there no mileage. The only thing is, but there was no mileage on the 17th. There were
No,
new.
they were sitting in his lot.
Yeah.
So just for the year, where we could wait a few months, it didn't seem worth, eventually, we might want to trade these in.
Right.
A year could be a difference, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions of the chief? I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
Chief.
Next item, Twala.
Under other business, council committee reports.
You're up, Mr. Albert.
Oh, it's us? Okay, good. So, LDC. LDC is going to be recognized with the Spirit of America Award coming up. Pretty awesome for all the folks that have worked very hard. I know, unfortunately, due to timing, a lot of folks won't be able to attend, but I know that we're sending a contingent from town office here to be there and represent on their behalf. And so I just want to congratulate them publicly for all their hard work. And I think that it's an award that's well-deserved. They deserve the recognition.
Thank you, sir. Planning board, I'll start. Don, if you want to weigh in, or Ms. Parity, by all means. Last meeting they met, they had a Domino's site plan review, Friendly Beginnings conditional use review for a daycare, and Farnham rear lot for a daycare as well, I believe it was. Is that not correct on the last one?
You're doing good. You didn't need me.
So, anything you'd weigh in on any of those topics? I heard a sound bite, and I was hoping you, how
we
we-
did reviewed and approved Domino's,
okay,
and we did have a rear lot and a daycare, and we've got coming up, we've got more comp plan review, talking about the marijuana, recreational marijuana potentials, and another daycare, school-like thing. We had a last week we had a preliminary meeting with the developer, a future developer for Miller property. And we have an associate member opening, as you probably know. Correct. So, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Associate. Yes,
Yeah, because
Yes.
Dan.
yes. Thank you.
No
My
worries.
mind wasn't there.
Counselor Crawford's not here, so.
Council Crawford's not here, absolutely. Conservation, sir, or library?
Well, I know in the library, they've just completed their summer reading program, and they had, I think, believe it was 30 families attending on their main day on, I think it's Tuesday, and then on the Thursday, they've had 17 to 20 families attending, so it's been very well attended. And the new Mills system that they've just implemented, they've more than doubled their number of items that go out every week on that, from around 20 to around 60 now, so it's almost 3 times the increase in the weekly items that go out. And that's been a very big help. People go online now and order books and, get a notification by email when their book is in, so they can go right down to the library and pick it up. And it's really made it convenient for a lot of people.
Thank you, sir. Recreation, Cassie?
I have nothing to report.
County, they're beginning budget review. The commissioners have a schedule that starts the end of August, going on Wednesday nights on their regular meetings. The county budget committee starts meeting in the September timeframe, so I'll have more on that as it starts presenting. I forget the date now, but there is a public hearing date, and I'm confident that it's before our next meeting. I'll bring it to the next meeting. That tags you in, lady.
So, next week, we just got notification that MDOT's geotechnical engineering firm will be on Main Street doing test borings to test the samples of soil. So we're getting a step, inching closer to that project, I guess. That's all I have to say tonight.
Okay. Brings us to the mass gathering ordinance. You guys got the information. It's both in our packet here, and Diane sent it out earlier. So it's as a discussion item here tonight for key pieces and takeaways that we have on this to move it forward if we're gonna craft anything of.
Dan's gonna review the itinerant vendor ordinance too,
Okay.
that we have.
Thank you. That was, I know we talked about that.
Yeah.
The last meeting, it came up as a discussion item because I did hear that. I don't have any basis for it, but I did
Yeah.
hear that our fee structure is the highest in the state, and it has been something that has discouraged, I think it was Pinky D's actually making that case known, that he would prefer not to do business in the town that he actually lives in because of the pricing. I thought that was a little harsh from a local boy, so we could at least look into the topic. Content here. Anybody have anything for a jumping off point? Knowing that we talked about this a year ago in the hopes of actually doing it, and we missed that window last spring. It's before us now. The intent, as I understood it back then, was to cover a mass gathering ordinance, plus at the time we were talking about, quite frankly, I think it was the Beaver Park being the best kept secret in town, and the secret's out, we need to move on. There's key things, I know it's not for the discussion here tonight, but some of the rules associated with no sale of merchandise in the park or no alcohol of all, I think it's a perfect place to have a wedding on-site to be able to showcase that it would be a perfect place to have a mass gathering permit actually available, that we don't have the latitude to be able to even have that kind of discussion. I know it's here tonight to at least have that discussion because I got feedback from Ross of the Positive Change Lisbon, because he was approached by a vendor that wanted to sponsor a beer garden type of discussion for the Moxie Festival. And we not making the time last spring to be able to address it puts it at the right discussion, no time to be able to address it, if you will. That said, key things that I'm looking at here is we drew the line at 1,000 attendees or more. My question is if we expect in 999, does none of this relate and we can do it? So the key number here is keep it under 1,000, you can do anything in town? So I could have told Ross, yes, just cordon off the area and do a clicker. It seems to me that number might be too high. You know, if you're gonna do a mass gathering, I think you might grab people less than $1,000 to be able to put in some of the areas. Specifically, the one that comes to mind is if you're gonna try to do something downtown, could downtown absorb parking for 1,000 additional people for a specific function to be able to accomplish that? I don't know.
What are similar for me, it's just a matter of what are similar ordinances around
Right.
our neighboring communities. Are they 500? Are they less? Are they more? I guess-
If it's 1,000, then we know that we're in the dooryard. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Do we want to taper ours based on the size of our community? That's the other side of that.
Right.
Just because they're 1,000 in Lewiston, does that necessarily hold water with your parking example for that matter?
And the other example that came up, and I know we talked about it not this past year, but previous with the Moxie, is exploring something on the Friday night at the tennis court area for that beer garden kind of discussion, where you had the cordon off area to be able to police that kind of thing. Would that tennis court even hold 1,000 people? Why we?
Would we
Is
even
the number
be able
t-
to do it at the tennis court? Because isn't that school property?
The tennis court is not. The parking
Don't
is.
you have to be so many?
parking
You
is.
have to be so far away from it.
Yeah,
School
right.
lot.
I know it's a bad example, but it was the discussion at the time that we were looking at for exploring options for this kind of mass gathering permit coming into play.
Yeah, I think
It's nothing more than that, Cassie.
I think it's easy to look at Moxie as a kind of the place where we're going to see this sort of be applied, but it can be applied in all. I think we have to look big picture, like we talked about with Beaver Park and other places.
wedding.
Exactly, a wedding,
wedding.
or
Right.
any other
So you don't have to hold a
event.
big concert out in a field somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. The idea is that, are we doing ourselves a disservice by not having an ordinance on the books that's going to work to help bring folks here for events that we try to get people involved in. So, yeah, I don't know what the right number is, but we certainly should investigate to see what's the one that's going to be the least restrictive to make it a little bit easier to kind of move through this.
Received. Well, received by the people that might benefit from it, right?
And that we can support, honestly, that our town can support, and it's not, because we want to do these things, but I don't want to flood the downtown and all the residents that live down there and there's a difference between a one-day nuisance and something that could become a large headache, especially if I live down there and all of a sudden I'm being inundated with, through every week of the summer, a mass gathering permit. That's going to be a real pain.
Right.
So,
The other piece that, is the fee schedule spelled out in here and I missed it? Because I went looking for it, and the only one that I see is the public cost escrow, where the estimate that whatever we come up with, you have to put 120% of that aside to actually make it happen. What else are we talking about to be able to go and get a mass gathering permit? What's the cost? I didn't see one.
I just saw the penalty on the back, the civil penalty.
I see the penalty, I see the public escrow cost. I do not see a fee schedule.
We didn't.
I didn't get the appendix, so that's, it's not as written because we didn't have this, so I didn't see it there either, that I remembered. That's why I was asking
That
too.
fee would be in the fee schedule, but we haven't established a fee.
Okay, do we have an idea of what we were looking at? Do you guys even have any of that proposed? I don't, okay. give that some thought, because I don't see anything there.
Right.
And then I made another,
But no, that's not the fee. I think there's a fee for the permit, but there's a fee for the cost of
yeah, all I see is
different things.
setting aside the escrow, because I mean, the
Right.
fact is, if they don't have that out there, they're gonna get that check back, because you're only putting an escrow in case something were to happen to cover yourself,
Right.
like the insurance part.
Right.
But,
But a fee for the permit.
fee
what
is something
you're
that it-
talking about, the
right, I
actual
do not see a fee.
No.
And, what other operators shall obtain licenses and permits required by the town of Lisbon, state of Maine, to comply with ordinance and statutes, along with alcoholic beverages? What are we talking about for an outdoor event or something that would actually kick in on that, that's above and beyond this fee?
What are you talking about? If they had alcohol in an outdoor event, would be an off-premises catering permit for alcohol.
Okay, so
They'd
that's
have to obtain from the
standardized.
state, but
Okay.
that would have to come through council as well.
Do we have a special entertainment permit or anything of that nature that kicks in? I know Lewiston has a few of those.
I think that it would just be the off-premise catering permit. We charge 25 to process it locally, and then they have to pay, 35, I guess, in Augusta, something like that.
Okay. The only reason I was asking is, does the purpose of the mass gathering permit go against those other things like a special amusement permit? And so you're double dipping on that topic as well.
I don't know. You might, if you have live music with alcohol sales, have to have a special entertainment permit. We do have a local ordinance that says that, so I just don't know if it's applied to the off-premise catering permit.
Right,
Or one-day
right.
event.
Okay.
It is if you have a year license, so. Could,
And those are the kind of things that,
The mass gathering permit, I would look at more as an administrative permit. Not so much as, because some of the things, depending on what the mass gathering is for, pertaining to our other ordinances and fee schedule, they may have other fees, but I don't see like $150 or $200 mass gathering permit. I see something smaller to
contingencies.
do
Yeah.
because of the
Contingent-
paperwork that we're gonna
contingencies.
have to do, that
Right.
type of stuff.
I think if they're going for two of the other permits, then you should waive the fee on the live music, because I'm a big supporter of live music. Support local.
geez, I wonder where that was coming from.
Sorry.
And I'm inclined to actually agree with what you actually just said on that, because knowing enough about why Lewiston did some of what they did, it was nothing associated with a party or a function of that nature. It was a large political organization coming to town, and you're protecting your interests associated with what you can or can regulate for where and what they can do on the premises. That was the intention at that point in time, because it mobilized police, fire, all other costs associated with that to be
Yeah.
able to look down those avenues. So, that said, Fern sitting in the audience, I know I'm throwing you under the bus here, but knowing that conversation that played out with Ross, is there anything that we're missing in this, if we were going down that road for the intention of what the Positive Change Lisbon was doing, that we're missing in this discussion? Because I had real heartburn to be able to have to tell him no, because it was a really cool idea, because something of this nature wasn't in play.
Again, Fern LaRochelle Lisbon Falls, I can't speak for Ross, but I think it was just the idea of, there was a thought put out a year or so ago about the idea of broadening the idea of maybe
Right.
actually having that beer garden type event, and not just at MTM, but Beaver Park itself, and there was gonna be some ongoing discussion. I think part of that was put into place, but as time goes on, everybody gets busy, and I'm not sure if the rest of the administration had been done work to
Right.
make that happen, so, I think it's definitely a good thing to have on the books, just in case, because you never know what type of event, whether it's a group like ours or somebody else. I second the idea of Beaver Park would be a great place for a wedding.
Right.
Looked into it last year for my daughter's wedding, and unfortunately, even have a wine toast, it'd be very difficult, so, but again, I think you're better off to move slowly and make sure you have everything in the books of the way to do it correctly, so,
Right.
I'm not sure if I answered your question. but
No,
I
you
think
did,
it's-
and one of the key sound bites that I was thinking going back through this is there is an exclusion to be able to waive the fees through the council for nonprofits. You know, so that is key based on the example there, that,
And even I mean, just what I've seen as being with the group is even what we do at MTM and stuff, and even nonprofits still gotta carry, you know, fairly large insurance
Right.
policies for mass gathering.
Right,
So
right.
I think as long as you have that, for any group that came in, if that's
Yep.
part of your ordinance, the idea
Yep.
of the requirement for insurance and all the other stuff, the alcohol part of it almost plays itself, because that's, to get the licenses and the permits, you gotta have all the, everything in place, so. I know it's pretty trying, so.
Well, I think that it goes back to what you had mentioned with there's some sort of restaurateur's license or whatever that they're required. So the burden of responsibility doesn't fall on the nonprofit.
Yeah.
It falls on the contractor that they hire to run that beer garden. They're the ones that are licensed. They're the ones that have the state credentials. So all we're doing is, like you said, if I'm a nonprofit, all I'm doing is hiring them as a contracted person to manage that piece. But everything else that I have insurance for is to cover inside of that beer garden
And
piece.
and even the
Right.
security that goes along with that. I mean, it's a
Right.
pretty involved process.
'Cause I
Thank you. I just want to make sure we weren't missing something, thinking in groupthink.
I could be wrong, but I think that the folks that are even contracted like that, so somebody managed the beer garden, they have to be insured as well,
Yeah,
too.
no,
So,
it's a
yeah,
liability issue,
yeah,
for
yeah.
period.
So,
Yeah.
we're pretty well insulated there, I think.
Anyone else on this, if we're opening the discussion? Okay, next item?
Is the Lisbon emergency discussion, is that workshop date?
Anybody that isn't aware, at the last workshop that we actually hit, they are looking for a commitment from the town by early fall with financial commitment for the following year, or they will cease to exist and close operations effective December 31st. Was the summary of what we actually got the other night?
Sounds accurate.
To be able to make their financial issues work, a variety of which actually summarize from the collection issues and the minimum wage issues and a variety of other topics that they are faced with. They are looking at depleting their reserves to an unhealthy level to be able to sustain operations status quo this year. So if they do not get the commitment, they feel it is best to shutter the doors and actually move forward that way, because it's negligent to not do so. So that said, I know the meeting that we actually had for the workshop, there were 4 of us counselors in attendance. Put it on the discussion for tonight to let them know that it is something that we are very much listening to, because they are an operation that's been with us since 1970, was it?
79?
It was 70s, and the fact is they gave the issue, the reason they came to town was the death of a high school student that actually brought them in-house. So go back, we are talking about potentially a different level of surface in town. That said, I think it's prudent to set a workshop where we can get everybody that has a vested interest in this to actually sit down and have a candid discussion about what options are. Any time frame? Personally, for what I heard from them presented that night, the fact that I would like to have it as soon as we could in the September timeframe, because that gives them just 3 months to actually get the warm and fuzzies that we're either on board or they're gonna have to deal with what they're gonna have to deal with.
Our first September is the 5th, it looks like.
Yeah, that's a bad idea coming right off Labor Day. I can tell that's gonna tank.
Yeah.
Do you wanna do it on off?
Yeah, we could do it the
Night.
12th, the next Tuesday, second Tuesday in September.
I think it's a better idea.
Can work.
Give us that, just to focus on that, and not be distracted by trying to rush through it.
What's the same, would we go with the council meeting on the same night, or you would go with the council meeting on the 5th with the only thing on the agenda will be the 12th, would be that workshop?
Right, that's what I would do, just have the workshop only.
I don't think it's an hour discussion.
Yeah.
and I know we bum rushed them out the door to make the 7 o'clock meeting tonight. And I know we stayed 10 minutes till we had a quorum to be able to allow for that too. So it wasn't a fair shake on a first example meeting us. So
So on the 12th, do you want to have other people also at the meeting? Because we had discussed
yes,
putting out to bid, and I did have a discussion with another community today about that. I haven't talked to United yet. I haven't call out to them, just so that you will know, just say you do put it out to bid, what it would look like
Sure.
if somebody else other than Lisbon Emergency, because the level of service will change drastically.
And I think that's-
I think you need to know that and know exactly what you would be getting into.
agreed.
I'm going to tell you my initial instinct when hearing you say it, and I realize it's the whole. We need to understand the full scope of this picture, but it makes my skin crawl to think of United or somebody else coming in here when I know what level of service that we've received all this time would drop drastically. And just to hear in the presentation that we had in that abbreviated workshop with them, that mutual aid from Topsom, it used to be $100, and now it's doubled to $200 a call.
Because everybody's got the same pressure, but we have
Exactly.
1 year out from making those mutual aid agreements agreeable across the board for everybody.
And without digging into the dirt of it, because we'll do that in the workshop, to realize that the collections woes that our own Lisbon Emergency are dealing with right now, to the tune of what, almost $800,000. That's just a massive amount of money that's.
I honestly don't think that you're gonna be able to get coverage here for much less than what Lisbon Emergency wants.
I reached out to Pat Tardif, Patricia Tardif's been with them since their inception. After our meeting, I wanted the skinny from her, and she echoed everything that they had said, and then some. And she made it very clear that some of the challenges that they face are they have folks who are addicted, part of this unfortunate epidemic that's in our state, and they use the ambulance as a taxi into Lewiston, and 9 times out of 10, I hate to say it like that, but that's exactly the words that I got from her mouth. And these are folks that are unable to pay for that service, and so something they're never going to refuse treatment. She's made that very clear. We'll never refuse treatment. Don't think they can, but so yeah, we're at that point where we have to make some tough decisions about, do we want to sacrifice the services that we have right now and go with something else, or do we try to help our partner out, who's been our partner for a long time?
Clearly, there's going to be coverage changes. It's just a question of where things settle. I know they have ideas. I know they presented a lot of, alternatives. Hearing all of the options is the best way to be able to go about it, in my opinion. If we have other partners like Topsom and United that actually can be present, they might as well be present, because we may be going out to an RFP so they at least know what they're getting into to hear it from the start, is my intent. Whether we actually have the tone actually come so they're speaking on that, I think they ought to at least be able to at least hear the information firsthand. It'd be my intention, because we need to. My brief tenure associated with this, everything is, Lisbon has paid more to be able to go our own way and control what we actually have for the level of benefits. You take the conversations, whether it be our call centers, our school. The school's a bad example, because school would cost us more to go with the state's RSU shit formula, between which way they shoved us, to the tune of $1 million. But point being is, you're going to lose service if you take it outside of the community. So we have actually having the dialogue to be able to what that ultimately means to be able to keep the level. I think we got to have the key players here. And that would be the fire, the EMS, Lisbon Emergency. They had that night I don't know how big the board is, but I do know that it was probably over half of them sitting present in the room, because they wanted to be anywheres here but that night. Yeah. You could just see it in the faces.
All of their financial representatives were
Right.
here.
Yeah. 12th, 6 o'clock. I would actually
For
go
me.
with earlier to be able to do that, and I like the fact that it's not on a council meeting night, because I don't feel like we should shut it off at 7 to be able to get where we need to be for the next agenda item.
6 is about the earliest I can make it, but yeah,
Okay.
6 works for me.
Good. Anything else that was new on that? Good. Next item?
Audience participation and response for new items.
Anybody wishing to speak for the council?
Again, Fern La Rochelle, Lisbon Falls. I was here for just a little bit of that last meeting that you had with the Lisbon emergency, but I know in previous, this has been a discussion for years and years. I mean, I guess I would reach out to the idea of, I'm not sure how many of you have actually called in the middle of the night now for the emergency, for ambulance or a fire or whatever, but typically most first responders show up with the fire department, and we have a very active fire department with what comes out and very quickly, and typically the ambulance will follow behind. I mean, I'm not saying that in any bad way, just we have a really good fire department that comes to
Right.
first response for emergency. Have you looked at other communities? I know Durham basically runs their own rescue unit through their fire department. I'm not sure, I know that's been talked about in Lisbon for years, you know, kind of merging the two versus the idea of just separation. I know there's a big initial, sometimes liability costs and operations, but again, it's one of those things where it's always been talked about. It'd be interesting just to see how that would actually work out. Again, neighbors across the river there, Durham actually runs, you know, transport, because they actually have first responders the same way. So basically, the ambulance is mainly for transport. But again, just an idea, just one of those things where it's always been a discussion.
Sure.
If you're going to make discussions, you might as well put everything on the table and
That's
see
it.
the options you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good point there, and that, could you add Durham to that dialogue so they're present, so if we're looking to do something of that, that we actually get feedback from them on how to proceed?
We'll just,
I saw somebody do, absolutely, I saw two.
Auburn did the same thing. Tracy Stuber, Economic Community Development Director. I kind of got busy. We didn't really have an opportunity to say on the CDBG downtown grant. So it has gone out to bid, and the project now is outside of my office as far as the new scope of work to be done. So just want to let you know that hopefully we'll get some good bids and we'll be coming back to you.
excellent.
Scope is still intended to be completion by June 30, is that the target date?
That is correct. We met with the potential bidders, and it was, you know, either we start this fall
Right,
or we go into
right.
the spring, but we are looking at everything to be
To at least be
completed
conscious that we're not being
by-
gouged by the worst
by June
pricing.
30th. Yes.
Right. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir, I saw you.
My name is Joe LaHood. I live on 293 Ridge Road. I'm speaking on behalf of the Lisbon Emergency. I was actually a member there for many years, and I'm now the operations manager for United. They're a great service. A lot of good people, a lot of dedicated people. But I just want to back what they're saying. Volunteerism is fading. It's hard to get people to, you know, work for free, not being paid. And I can tell you right now, the cost of running a service is quite a bit of money. So I was involved in the LA Combined Committee, and what I suggested to them is when they went out for RFP for ambulance service, make sure you understand the whole operations of the services that you get the RFP. Go visit, look at the vehicles, look at the equipment, talk to the people, and, you know, make sure they're a really good service and quality improvement and all that. And if you want any advice, give me a call. I will help you, very objectively.
What would you do?
Because I have no interest, you know, I'm
yeah.
not speaking for United.
Yeah.
But I'm speaking for you guys as a council, you know, when you go and looking for services, be very, very careful, because there's,
I
all kinds.
appreciate very much you saying that. One of the things when I made my call out to Pat was to ask if I could go for a ride along, because I know they talked about their equipment here
Yeah.
to us, and so I wanted to go ahead and not just see how they operate, but also see where they work and what they use.
that's good, that's very good, because you want to know what you're going to end up paying for. So,
What are you doing September 12th?
I guess.
Could you
if
be
it's
sitting,
official,
could
I'll
you
be
be
here.
sitting in our office? I will very much take you up on that offer to
Right.
be able to be involved in that, because if it ends up in an RFP, I'd like somebody with the experience to be able to craft it, to be
Yeah,
able
and
to.
I've been working with Jim and them guys there, you know, and trying to support them. So I'm not here to take it over or move into this territory.
But I'd like you to hear the dialogue start, to be able to, wherever we land, is the fact is it's the best for our people.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Much appreciated you taking your time tonight to do this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Anybody else? Seeing none. Moving forward, Twyla?
There are no appointments. Council communications?
No, I think that was a big enough downer.
Yeah.
Next item?
There's no executive session?
Nope.
And motion to adjourn.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Beat me fast, 4-0.
Thank you all for coming. Feel obligated to deliver that message for Mr. Burnell.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, what
Nope.
about our motion? I mean, the
I don't,
findings of fact.
I don't need the findings of, there. They can go into the shred. I believe they can go into the shred. All right. Hey, Lydia, how you doing? Good, hey.
Thank you, Eddie.
The findings of fact, dude.
Yeah, I put 'em